Mozart Symphonia Concertate with Manfred Honeck and the Pittsburgh Symphony. Our soloists, Concertmaster Noah Bendix-Balgley, Principal Violist Randolph Kelly. Gentlemen, delighted to hear your Mozart this weekend. It sounds great from the rehearsal just a few minutes ago.
Thank you.
Going well.
Delighted to be here.
And you've done it before together. You had a tryout in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We played it in Ohio actually about a month ago. So we've been working it together since January, and we're really looking forward to these concerts because it's our own band. So it's always great to play with friends and colleagues and with the maestro, with Manfred.
Mm-hmm. There's so many great Mozart tunes here, but in the presto, right away, the two of you are just wonderful together. That's one of my favorite moments. Favorite spot for you, the Andante? So soulful.
I would have to say that the slow movement is... Mozart's music is always transcending, but especially this slow movement. And there's, of course, this story about perhaps he wrote it with the death of his mother in mind. We don't really know if that's true or not, but it definitely has that kind of gravitas and emotion in it. And I find it a particularly emotional, hard on its sleeve Mozart movement.
Even within the slow movement,
yeah.
How the overall phrasing, how it just moves in this great long phrases that are, and it's been a great pleasure doing this with Noah. I was supposed to, my solo is usually under contract, happens every other season, but then I went to Noah and I said, Noah, would you consider playing this with me? And he said, sure. And so it ended up that, he had the schedule and they had everything done, and he said, well, we have to wait another year. And I went, oh, another year. But he said, yes, that's great. And I just said to my wife today, I said, it was really the right choice. And one of the right choices, not only because Noah is a great fiddler, violinist, excuse me, but that we had the chance to work together closely. If somebody comes from the outside, even if they're a great violinist, you have usually one rehearsal. You get together for an hour and you play through it, you talk about a couple of things, and that's it. But in our case, we were able to develop it as it went along, musically, phrasing, work on things, and it was really a great, it's been one of my highlights of my 39 years here, and I'm not just saying that. It's one of the highlights of playing with somebody here in Pittsburgh.
Can't wait to hear it this weekend. You mentioned the cadenza. Often with Mozart, we don't know what he had in mind for cadenzas. Yeah. We didn't leave it; it doesn't survive. But in this case, we do have Mozart.
Yeah. In the first movement, it's a quite elaborate cadenza that he writes out, and the second movement as well. And they're really beautiful cadenzas that incorporate the themes from the movement, but also have more adventurous harmonies than some of what goes on earlier in the movement. And the end of the second one is so tragic. And afterwards the orchestra comes in, and Manfred has done a wonderful job of they just kind of slide in pianissimo, and it's really incredible atmosphere there at the end of the second movement. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the presto, the third movement is a complete turnaround, and suddenly we have this joyous, buoyant dance for the last movement. So it's really a masterpiece, I think.
I don't think anybody would dare. These cadenzas are so great that anybody would dare, like the Bartok Viola Concerto. That was written there. But some people will change and make their own, and it's a great cadenza. But these are beyond great. I have to say this too. I about a week ago, a gentleman came up to me and said, "So what's the hardest passage in Mozart?" And I said, "It's Mozart. Every note is hard."
Everything is right there.
Yeah, it's like exposed. A Swiss watch.
Yeah, it has to be.
See, you're looking at a Swiss watch, and it has to all fit together, including the orchestra. You need a great accompaniment. If you don't have a great accompaniment, no matter what you're doing, it doesn't happen. And that doesn't mean just playing soft. That means really involved.
Manfred played the violin and the viola a bit. What's it like working with him on putting this together?
Oh, it's great. I mean, he's very sensitive to balance, of course, and also just really articulation and phrasing and to the smallest detail in the classical repertoire like this in Mozart. And so that's a privilege to be able to work with him on this, because a lot of times with, as you know, with concertos, often they don't get quite as much rehearsal time, and the orchestra is expected to just follow what the soloist is doing, and it's sort of it can be more haphazard than symphony that we play. But this we just had a very nice rehearsal and really
the whole rehearsal
getting into the fine details of everything. So that's nice. It also gives us ideas as soloists when he presents something in the tutti in one of the movements, and then we realized we could build on that in the solo as well. So the title Symphonia Concertante is represents that. It's a real combination of the symphony and the concerto forms. So as much as of those two worlds as you can bring together, the better, I think.